Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? In this video, we'll talk about 4 steps to help you stop living paycheck to paycheck. Welcome back. My name is Sanchez. In this channel, we talk about money, investing, and real estate. If you want to learn how to start making, saving, and investing more money so you can eventually become financially free and live life on your own terms, you can start by subscribing now. Alright guys, I want to start off by saying I once sucked at money. I was always a hard worker and I loved to work. Even as a kid, I just liked the idea of having a job so I could have spending money. But there came a time in my life, right around the age of 20, when I realized how hard I would work and had absolutely nothing to show for it. And at the age of 20, I had an epiphany. I decided I never wanted to live paycheck to paycheck ever again, and I wanted to feel financially secure and perhaps, one day be able to build wealth and change my family tree for good. I fell in love with personal finance, and as I researched and studied people who were winning with money, I started to win as well. I changed my bad habits and I started to form good money practices. As I got better, educated, and inspired, the whole process kept getting easier and easier, and I soon realized I had turned bad habits into good ones. After countless of hours of podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube, I came up with these 4 steps to help you stop living paycheck to paycheck. And here are the 4 steps. Step number 1, smash the like button. Seriously guys, it'll help my YouTube channel so much. But now let's get serious. Step number 1 is create a budget. Have you ever wondered where exactly all your money is going? Don't worry, because I have too. I used to never really pay attention to my bank account, except when I got an alert from Chase saying my account balance was too low, and I used to count the days and hours until my next paycheck because my bank account was in obvious desperate need. You see, you do realize you're running out of money, but you don't know how or why. You don't really know where the money is going, and you don't know how much of it is actually essential, meaning it's mandatory spending for living expenses. In order to get good with money, you need to create a budget. A budget is a financial plan that shows how much money will come in and how much money will go out, usually measured monthly. It gives your money its purpose, and it helps you allocate it where it's needed, and it gives you a financial concept of where it's all going. You really can't start the process of saving and getting ahead if you don't know how much money is being spent and where it's being spent. For example, you might not realize that you've been spending $200 a month on Starbucks, while others might never realize that they've been paying for like 8 different online subscriptions that they never actually even use. Once you start tracking your expenses, it's easier to catch the leaks that are sinking your financial ship. In other words, you start to get the big picture of your finances, and you realize that there's so much opportunity to start cutting unnecessary spending. My suggestion is to use an app like YNAB or You Need a Budget, Mint, Every Dollar. Those apps are made for the beginning budgeter, and it makes it easy to create a budget and start tracking your expenses. I'm a bit old-fashioned and I like to write it down. Sometimes I use Google Notes. If you also feel more comfortable, you could even do it also with a pen and paper. Just make sure you're consistent and do whatever is easier for you. Step number 2, create an emergency fund. After you've created a budget, and you start to see your spending habits and you realize where your money is going, you need to start the process of creating an emergency fund. An emergency fund is a chunk of cash set aside for emergencies, hence it's why it's called an emergency fund. So the sole purpose of an emergency fund is to be there as a safety net when an unexpected expense arises. If you're a human being and you work for a living, you know that stuff happens. Expect the unexpected, and as we all know, life gets difficult at times. We encounter unfair situations, and it always seems like you can't get ahead because as soon as you start getting your life together, the unexpected car breakdown happens. There will always be unexpected expenses related to normal day living. It's just part of life, guys. Big expenses come up, and since most people aren't prepared for them, it sets them back and causes them to drown, financially speaking. At the very minimum, you should aim to start with $1,000 as your emergency fund. Dave Ramsey states it's good to start with that, and I obviously agree with him because he's basically the personal finance god. Let's be honest, most unexpected things that happen tend to be pricey, so $1,000 is a good number to start with. An emergency fund also depends on your lifestyle, typical expenses, monthly income, and your financial situation. If you already have $1,000 as an emergency fund, hooray for you. Make sure to pat yourself on the back. After you've managed to do that, you should try to aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses as your emergency fund. That way you're better self-insured if a catastrophic thing happens, like you lose your job due to the virus that's going on right now. I have to emphasize that an emergency fund is only for emergencies, meaning it's only there for expenses that come out of nowhere and that are absolutely necessary. So this means you don't use that money for that unexpected concert that comes up out of nowhere or that unexpected vacation. An emergency fund is there to protect you from financial disaster, so don't get tempted to use it for unnecessary things. Step number 3, stop acquiring debt and pay off your old debt. Unfortunately, most Americans are drowning in consumer debt. Why? Well, debt is easy to attain, and most people want something like a nice car, nice clothes, nice vacations, and a lavish lifestyle. The problem is that society has made it seem that it's okay to want things now and get them now without having to save up for them. Why wait to save up for a vacation or buy a new car when you could just have it immediately by financing it? You see, humans have the tendency to put anything and everything on a credit card that they wouldn't else be able to afford. Consumer debt is the #1 wealth killer if you ask me. Now, before I continue on with this topic, I have to admit I do love credit cards. To me, it is very important to use credit cards to build and establish good credit. Your credit score is the report card of your financial life. It shows lenders and other institutions how responsible you are with money. But like Peter Parker's grandpa said,
remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
And therefore, credit cards are only for people that know how to use them and manage them appropriately. So with that being said, if you have consumer debt and you're paying interest on your consumer debt, you're not really using credit cards the right way. Step number 3 requires you to start paying off your debts and make sure you stop the bleeding by not using the credit cards while you're massively in debt. You can't get out of a hole by continuing to dig at the bottom. So it is very important to stop using credit cards if you have big balances. This step requires massive discipline because it gets hard to pay off debt at times because there is no immediate reward. You almost feel like there's no point of paying debt. If you have an enormous amount of debt, at least commit to either not getting into more debt or slowly start paying off your old debt. Once you eliminate owing banks and lenders all your income, you realize it starts to get easier to have money left at the end of the month. Step number 4 is pay yourself first. So this last step is seriously what helped me escape the rat race. It gave me hope and it helped me get excited about being smart with my money. It helped me and pushed me to keep getting better with my finances and eventually helped me grow my income. The concept of paying yourself first means that whenever you get paid, you immediately put money away into a savings account. There's no questions, there's no excuses, and there's no BS. You make sure you put your money into your savings account because obviously the traditional way doesn't work. Most people get paid, pay their bills, dispose their income on things, and then they hope that they have enough money left over at the end of the month. But instead, they end up having too much month left over at the end of their money. This process continues to be played over and over by many people. Saving money is super simple, guys. It's just that most people make it hard because they do everything backwards. I want to open up your mind. What's the point of waking up early every single day, commuting in traffic, working the most precious hours of the day for a company or a boss that doesn't actually care about you or your well-being or your personal life? You follow their rules and you're told what to do, when to eat, when to take a break, and when you can take off to enjoy the time with the people you truly care about the most. You come home tired day in, day out. You're overworked, you're underpaid just to get a paycheck that doesn't even belong to you because all your money is going to all your expenses, all your debt repayments. When I started to pay myself first, aka worrying about saving money before I paid my expenses, something strange happened. I was hitting my monthly savings goals month after month, and my mandatory expenses were also paid on time. I somehow always found a way to pay for my living expenses. This concept forces you to subconsciously change your spending habits because you now now have less money to throw away on things like Starbucks mochas, eating out a lot, or going out to the club and paying for bottle service. You need to pay yourself first because you will build good money habits alone with just that tip. Once you start to see your bank account grow, your mind starts to feel at ease, and you remember when you were broke. You will remind yourself that you're never going back, and the opportunity to start investing arise, and you really start to see the growth. Winning with money doesn't have to be hard. You might think about the people who have it easier than you, but you also have to think about the people who have it harder than you. And if you're watching this video, chances are that you have it good compared to the rest of the world. It means you have a smartphone, a computer, or some sort of streaming device. These simple steps will guarantee you will start to win financially. No one was born with debt or bad financial decisions. Every human being has options. As you grow up, more and more roads cross your path. Some bad choices, some good. Ultimately, you will always mess up. It's part of life. Any obstacle could be overcome, and we all start somewhere. I hope these tips really do help you on your financial journey to financial freedom. It's time to stop being like everyone else. Be unique and don't follow the same bad habits as most others do. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this video brought a ton of value to you, and please don't be afraid to gently destroy that like button down there. It would help out my channel a lot. Comment down below for the YouTube algorithm, and most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram if you wish to follow my journey, and I will catch you guys in the next one.